Hello, now we are on Essay 6, Elocution, and the lesson is Simile. So first we'll remind our students that they know something about the lesson. We are back to elocution. The general ideas go from outline to essay. And the first question is, what did we add to the essay last time? And the answer is antithesis. That's where we had two structures, two parts of a sentence, or maybe two short sentences that are exactly parallel in structure, holding contrasting ideas. The ink is black, the paper is white. Something like that we put in last time. So for something new, this time we are going to do something almost completely different. I guess we had a little comparing last time. We could even think about what did we compare in antithesis? We compared two things and made sure that we stated some differences, some big differences that are contrasting. So comparing is finding similarities and differences. And let's see how we'll use that today in elocution. We'll use both. And we're going to use it to emphasize an idea in a sentence. Look at these comparisons. It tastes like chicken. Her dog Max is as scary as a 3-year-old with finger paints. Coming at you and you're going to get wet. My horse is like medicine. Breakfast without orange juice is like a day without sunshine. That's an old orange juice commercial. For some of you might remember that. This waffle is as fluffy as a cloud. When she did that, she was as cool as a cucumber. So what do you see in those comparisons? We're seeing that whatever we were eating, tastes like chicken. We see a similarity there in flavors, right? The thing and the chicken are not the same. They're different, but they share a flavor. And then we see the dog and the 3-year-old child. Those are different, but we see they're both scary. We see the horse and the medicine. Those are different, but they both do something good for us. The breakfast and the day are different. Orange juice and sunshine are different, but they both make us happy, I think is what the ad implies. The waffle and the cloud are different, but they're both fluffy. They're different kinds of things, but they're both fluffy. They have that trait. They share that trait of being fluffy. So the girl and the cucumber are different in kind. One's a human and one's a vegetable, but they share a trait. They're both cool, which means something different for it. In the cucumber's case, it's temperature, but in hers, it might be too. She's unflappable. She's cool and calm. She's not upset and heated, right? So we see some similarities in there in the traits that we're talking about, and then we see some differences in the things that we are comparing. They're different. We're comparing always two different kinds of things. And those sentences are called similes. And so that's what they are. They're two different kinds of things that are being compared. And we notice also, I didn't say this while we were looking at the screen, but they all use the word like or as. She was as cool as a cucumber. The waffle is as fluffy as a cloud, or that tastes like something else. So we all have those words in there. They're making an explicit comparison. We are telling someone, this is like that. Very obvious that we're saying that one thing is like another. So now that we know what a simile is, let's see how to make one. So here's a first example. Choose an essay sentence that needs some explanation. The way the emperor ordered the things he loved led him into trouble. So let's explain that. Let's make that more clear, more vivid. So state the term to emphasize: ordering his loves. We could call it choosing his priorities. The kind of thing it is, the category it goes into is making a decision. So one decision we have to make in life is how to order our loves, how to set our priorities. We have to make other decisions in life too. Who are we friends with? Where do we go to school? What do we eat? What kind of dancing do we do? But this is one thing in the category of decisions. Let's identify the quality. It's pretty abstract, so you may not want to start with this one. Let's identify the quality or characteristic we want to highlight. Well, making this decision resulted in disaster. That's what we want to highlight. Let him into trouble. So let's state another object that's different in kind, something that's not making a decision, different kind of thing, but possesses the same quality or trait as another kind of thing that leads to disaster. A volcano, an earthquake, a hurricane. And so you can see that these are not the same kinds of things. A human making a decision is not the same thing as a natural disaster. So they're different in kind, but they share a trait. They affect disaster. So we're going to write in a sentence then that one thing is like the other. His selection of ambitions, his love was his one ambition, was like a hurricane. And we're going to say how. Wreaking unimaginable destruction. So we're comparing his ambitions to a hurricane, his choice to a hurricane, causing destruction. So now we have a new sentence that's much more vivid, because if you live near the Gulf Coast, you know what a hurricane does. Or if you live on the East Coast, you know what a hurricane does. Or maybe you live in parts of Asia, you've seen what, they're not called hurricanes, but tropical storms, cyclones, tsunamis, I think might be the same. So his selection of ambitions was like this hurricane, this kind of storm, wreaking unimaginable destruction. So then when we'll go to the essay, when we get to that point in this lesson today, we'll see how that sentence looks in the essay. Oh, here it is. So here's the essay, The Emperor's New Suit. We have from before the same introduction, first reason paragraph, second reason paragraph. And so we've added this to the third reason paragraph and highlighted it. You probably want to ask your students to do the same in their essays. The third reason the emperor should not have paraded in his new suit is his priorities. He desired, purposed, and dreamed only of dressing well. Ruling his empire well was not a priority for this emperor. His selection of ambitions was like a hurricane, wreaking unimaginable destruction. And then we see the refutation section in here. You probably want to ask your students to mark this. Well, this is pretty obvious, which paragraphs it is. Excuse me. But you might want them to mark it just so you notice it's something new, especially if you have to look at 100 of these. Some say that the emperor should have paraded in his new suit because everyone trusted the weavers. They say the emperor trusted them, he hired them, and that everyone in the palace agreed the suit looked good. So those are our three supports. However, the emperor trusted the people around him more than he trusted his own eyes, which was a dangerous position to take. Others say, second counterproof, that the emperor should have paraded in the suit because the old minister praised the cloth. And this is true, the three supports. The minister said the pattern was beautiful, the fabric was exceedingly beautiful, and the minister should have had the wisdom to know since he was old and good. But it would have behooved the emperor to wonder whether his old minister was as frightened as he himself was. Refutation summary. The facts that everyone trusted the weavers and that the good minister praised the cloth should not persuade us that the emperor should have paraded in the new suit. The emperor should not have paraded in the new suit because of his fear, his pride, and his priorities. His trusted good old minister would have loved for his emperor to admit the truth so that the minister could rest in the leadership of his sovereign. So that's going to be part of elocution this time, is putting this new outline section into sentences. And so that's kind of a new thing along with simile. We'll get back to simile, but I'll just point out here at this point that that we have some cue words that we add in elocution. Some say, we want everybody to know we're not continuing to write our ideas in this essay and present them as we have been for the previous 4 or 5 paragraphs. So we're going to say now, to make sure the audience knows what we're doing, some say the emperor should have paraded in his new suit because, here's the first counterproof, everyone trusted the weavers. They say the emperor trusted them, he hired them, and that everyone in the palace agreed the suit looked good. However, so there's the cue that we're going into the inadequacy. In the next paragraph, others say, second main reason, counterproof, The emperor should have paraded in the suit, or repeating the counter thesis, because second main proof, counterproof, the old minister praised the cloth. We could put a they say in there, but we agree with these things. So we need to use so I didn't put it in there. We need to make sure we say they say if we're starting to make statements that we don't agree with, but the other side does. We've said all day that these children should have played outside because of the sunshine. And then so if we get down here and say it was raining, then we're contradicting ourselves. So we have to be sure we say, they say it was raining, when we don't agree with this, with the statements we're making. Because sometimes we don't agree with their reasons. Sometimes we do agree with their reasons, but we don't agree with their conclusions that come from the reasons. So we just want to make that very clear in elocution. So we need to say, some say, the counter thesis, they say, these three supports, and you notice I put them into one sentence to a little bit de-emphasize them, and also to not have to say they say 3 times. And then, however, the inadequacy. Others say, and again, just like in the proof paragraphs, we repeat the thesis. And here it's the counter thesis. Others say the counter thesis because the main reason. And then the 3 supports in one sentence. Ministers say the pattern was beautiful, fabric beautiful. He should have had the wisdom. Minister should know. But inadequacy, it would have behooved the emperor anyway to wonder whether his old minister was as frightened as he himself was. So then we have the refutation summary. We're restating the 2 counterproofs. Everyone trusted the weavers. Old minister praised the cloth. And our conclusion from that should not persuade us. We can say it should not have persuaded him. We can say it should not have persuaded anyone, should not have convinced anyone, should not convince us. There's some flexibility there. That the emperor should have paraded in the new suit. That's our conclusion. No one's persuaded us of the counter thesis. And that moves us into the conclusion of the essay, the thesis. The emperor should not have paraded in his new suit. So this is a huge section of the essay. It's really a mini essay, isn't it? It has its own thesis, main reasons, with supports and explanations, and then a conclusion paragraph that we do write as a separate paragraph. When you get to your doctoral thesis, this will be several pages. We're holding its place by making this a separate paragraph. And all we do is restate the 2 reasons and the conclusion, the statement. So there are no explanations in here. We don't go on to say because of these things. That has to be up in the proof. Just like in the conclusion of the essay, we're just restating the main reasons. We're not saying why. We're not explaining them and saying why they persuaded us. We're just saying, here's the deal. And it's the same thing in the refutation summary. No explanations go in that. All right, so that's how refutation looks in the conclusion. I mean, in the essay, in elocution. So again, here's our simile. In the 3rd reason paragraph, his selection of ambitions was like a hurricane wreaking unimaginable destruction. And that's the end of the essay. So let's do it again in the ugly duckling essay. We're talking about the ducklings here. They tormented their own brother. That's the sentence I chose to work with. It's not very vivid. Torment is pretty kind of vivid, but let's see if we can explain it. Let's state the terms to emphasize the brothers. What kind of thing are the brothers? I put human-ish. I mean, we could say what kind of thing they are as ducks, but really they're acting like humans here. They're talking to their brothers, so we're going to treat them as humans. The quality we want to highlight about these brothers is that they are dealing continual torture. So what's another thing that does that? A cat. Humans and cats are different. Different in kind, but a cat will catch its prey. It will scratch its prey, release its prey over and over again, and catch it for the final kill. So the brothers are acting a little bit like a cat in being mean over and over again. So we're going to write that one thing is like the other. The brothers were like a cat. And what does the cat do? It repeatedly catches, scratches, and releases its prey before the final catch and kill. Boy, that sounds like cats are scary. So here's how it looks in the essay. We'll go down to the first reason paragraph. The rest is copied from the previous week. Here's the first change. The first reason the brothers should not have ridiculed the ugly duckling is that the brothers caused great emotional harm. The brothers were like a cat that repeatedly catches, scratches, and releases its prey before the final catch and kill. The little duckling was painfully lonely. At one point, the poor duckling even desired death. And now we understand those next two sentences better because we see how these brothers are being mean like a cat. And just one more time, we'll look at the refutation as it looks in elocution in an essay. Some say, there's the cue, the brothers of the ugly duckling should not have ridiculed him. There's the counter thesis. They say, supports, the brothers were unaware of their decision. They simply felt like acted as their mother did, and were not thinking of being cruel. So that ends up in two sentences with one they say before it. But cue for our side, back to our side, they were cruel. And they can learn to be aware of the choices they make. People can. Others say, others say the brother ducks were unfeeling. And then that's our main counterproof there. And then the three supports, they say that ridiculing causes injury, the ducks were uncaring, and that perhaps they had been hurt by their father's absence. However, back to our side, if they were responding from and passing on their own pain, they were in the perfect position to avoid causing more damage. The injured know why not to injure others. Summary. Neither the idea that the brothers were unaware of deciding nor that the brothers were unfeeling gives them any reason to ridicule their brother. And then back to the conclusion, the brothers should not have ridiculed the ugly duckling because the brothers caused great emotional harm, the brothers caused great physical damage, and the brothers acted in complete ignorance. Anyone who wants to learn compassion can feel the pain of this little one and become more kind and loving. So if we compare the two types of simile, we can see that in order to create a simile, we chose a sentence from the essay to explain more, the sentence we want to explain more. From that sentence, we identified an idea, a term to emphasize. We identified the kind of thing that term was. We stated the quality of the term that we wished to emphasize. We listed things of another kind, different kind, that share that quality. We chose one of those things and wrote a sentence saying the first item is like the second. We replaced the essay's original sentence with the new one. So again, the whole elocution summary is that we write, rest, and rewrite. To write, we got our main reasons parallel first, and then we turn each outline line into a whole sentence. Take a break so that we can see our writing better. That's an important part of writing. You cannot get it right the first time, so you shouldn't try. This will save you time. Then rewrite. We check the sentences to see if they contain mistakes. We spelled out the word three. We use a punctuation correctly. We had one paragraph for the introduction, 3 for the proof, 3 for the refutation this time, and 1 for the conclusion. We added 1 series of parallel words to the essays. We edited verbs. We wrote our 3 main reasons in parallel form. And like I said, we did that before the outline changed to sentences. We added antithesis that we learned last time. And this time we added a simile. So you'll practice this lesson by getting your students ready. If you'd like to make this 2 lessons about elocution, refutation, elocution, you can do that. But since they already have all their ideas, it's possible you could teach them that just by giving them these 2 examples and the 2 in the book, which you might need to tweak a little bit. I don't remember. And maybe write another 1 or 2 so that they can see 5 different examples when they do their homework, so that and maybe highlight where those cue words are to emphasize that to them and all those examples. And then you may not need to spend class time on that. If you only have your students once a week, if you have them 5 days a week, you may want to do this elocution in 2 parts and show them refutation elocution, and then teach them simile writing in a separate lesson. So for similes, you have a prerequisite. They know comparison. Show them 2 examples. You ask them to compare the steps you took, first, second, third. And we did that in that list. You want them to be able to tell you back. I find the word, something of the kind, same kind, different kind, same trait. And the rest of those steps. So that's what you want them to tell you back. Then they practice making their own. You see if they're doing it correctly, adjust as needed, and tell them, good job, you made a simile. These will be the worst similes you've ever heard. But if they follow the rules, then they're similes. And so you'll say, check, you did it. You made a simile. And that will show them what a correct practice is and allow them to continue to practice correctly. And that will improve the quality of their work. Again, we have students ready for the next step. After they complete these exercises, they'll be ready for a new invention. And again, sorry, picture's always in the wrong place for every slide. You have plenty of resources to go to. We can answer your questions today. Thank you for joining us. That's it.